Fair amount of domestic politics on what is clearly President Trump's double speak. Speaking with Prime Minister Modi on the phone line for about 35 minutes and then now will be hosting Asim Munir for lunch in America. It had domestic implications. Congress questioned Prime Minister Modi on the phone call, citing old US statement. However, Jairam Ramesh also took on Prime Minister Modi by showing a clip of a US statement. All of that. More on this.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's hard-hitting phone call to US President Donald Trump, where Modi rebutted Trump's claim on brokering India-Pakistan peace. The news of Modi's retort to Trump's repeated claims was met with sneering by Congress, which claimed that US is silent on Modi's phone call. Congress also cited Pakistan Army Chief's luncheon meet with President Trump, claiming this as another sign of deepening US-Pakistan ties. Congress claimed India was being sidelined diplomatically.
Now today, we are told that he had a 35-minute call with President Trump. President Trump has also put out a statement from the White House. There is a difference between the two statements. Normally, these statements are different because they appeal to different audiences. Let's take the Prime Minister's readout as the base. Why can't the Prime Minister call an all-party meeting tomorrow?
But Congress was accused of faking the US readout, as BJP highlighted that Congress had used a January 2025 readout to attack Modi. BJP claimed that while the US has itself not come out with any readout, the Congress is amplifying a lie against Modi.
I don't want to dignify the Congress party's ongoing, hallucinatory, I would call it hallucinatory fake narratives that they go and put on. But through all this, I get the feeling they're always looking for some way in which they can show India down.
We know Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. We have seen him as Prime Minister for the last 11 years. He will never, ever, for any political opportunistic politics, for any reason, compromise what he believes is the interest of India. So the only people who believed the lies of the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi in terms of this US mediation theory were the clowns who support the Congress party.
BJP has shared chat from US Embassy, where US has also denied readout. As the political war of words escalates, the Modi-Trump call has become a fresh flashpoint, not just in diplomacy, but on the domestic front as well. With Aishwarya Paliwal, Bureau Report, India Today.
Lots of domestic political implications of President Trump's double speak. We're going to get into that on all aspects. Joining me this evening, Sushant Sareen, Strategic Affairs Expert, Mr. Brahma Chalani, Strategic Affairs Expert, Ms. Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson, BJP, Mr. Madhu Gaudyashki, National Spokesperson, Congress, and my colleague, Senior Journalist Sandeep Unithan, a Consulting Editor, with us in the studio. I want to first up, bring in Sandeep to just set the premise. Sandeep, it is not unexpected. We've seen, President Trump do this in the past as well, have that conversation with our Prime Minister, and then now will be hosting Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir for lunch. But I would reckon hosting the Army Chief for lunch has implications which corroborate less with India and more with Iran.
Absolutely. And, Preeti, this is all part of the plan. If you're wondering what happened between the United States and Pakistan in the last couple of months, Pakistan has staged a, somewhat astonishing comeback in the last few months. And it all has to do with this Iran plan. And I think Operation Sindoor, our issues with Pakistan-based terrorism, was what we call an out-of-syllabus question. This just came out of the blue, unexpectedly. The United States wanted Pakistan on its side clearly for what they were planning was the big Iran game. And this is what, it answers a lot of our questions, which is why did Asim Munir and why did Pakistan suddenly become so important for the United States? And it's not that surprising if you look at history, Preeti, because the Pakistan army is an army that survives and thrives in crises in the region. In 1979, it was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. You had General Zia, who had made the full use of it. He created his nuclear weapons programs. He developed the nuclear weapons while the West looked the other way because he was an ally in the war against the Soviet Union. And then in 2001, it was General Pervez Musharraf, who was again this major non-NATO ally for the United States in this war against terror, in which he was also fighting with the Taliban at the same time, running with the hares and hunting with the hounds. And now you have General Asim Munir a few years later, who's the dictator in all, but in appointment. But he is the one, the man of the moment as far as the United States is concerned. He is the one who can help the United States in this ongoing Iran crisis. And this seems to have been the run-up to this luncheon meeting, Preeti. This fact that they were quoting Pakistan, specifically the Pakistan army, and Operation Sindoor was a distraction the United States did not want.
Fair point, because if it was any other way, it would have been the Prime Minister. A rather embarrassing picture today will be painted for the Prime Minister of Pakistan, where you have President Trump lunching with the army chief. I want to bring in Brahma Chalani, Strategic Affairs Editor as well, because Mr. Chalani, of course, there are domestic political implications. We'll get into that with both the Congress and the BJP spokesperson, but at a larger level. It clearly seems to suggest, and now the writing's on the wall, you're practically on your own.
That's true. But it's important to remember that General Munir's invitation to the US predates Israel's preemptive war against Iran. The Trump administration invited the Pakistani army general largely to address issues about the US-Pakistan relationship and also about South Asia. Iran, of course, is now going to figure also in the discussions. But the larger message is unmistakable. In fact, the optics are unmistakable. Trump is telling India that the US still sees utility in Pakistan's military, that it won't let India's battlefield victories dictate American diplomacy, and that Washington's warm ties with New Delhi do not preclude America's tactical warmth toward Rawalpindi. Trump may also be signaling to India that he will act on his own instincts and strategic calculus, not based on Indian interests or Indian concerns. In effect, the message is that India may be a strategic partner of America, but not a veto holder on America's dealings with Pakistan. In fact, Trump's luncheon meeting with Munir is a stark reminder that great power diplomacy often overrides regional security interests. So India must now recalibrate its strategy, knowing that America's strategic reliability is obviously uncertain.
Do you think that's really going to happen, Mr. Brahma Chalani? Because especially with we had Sandeep Punithan, who said it for what it is, that Operation Sindoor was an out-of-course, a question which came in from an out-of-course syllabus, and therefore India didn't really know how to react to it vis-a-vis even America.
We have to keep in mind that what Trump is doing vis-a-vis Pakistan is what Biden began during his presidency. It was Biden who initiated the IMF bailout packages for Pakistan. It is Biden who modernized Pakistan's F-16 fleet, making it more lethal against India. It was the Biden administration that helped Pakistan exit the FATF gray list. Trump is taking off from where Biden left. So what we are seeing potentially is a revival of the Cold War era US-Pakistan strategic collaboration. And Trump's meeting with Munir seeks to normalize Pakistan's international standing. Here is a rogue Pakistan, a long-standing sponsor of cross-border terrorism, not only being welcomed to the White House, but its standing being normalized. This is a potent geopolitical message, a message that New Delhi cannot overlook.
Fair point, because it's strong messaging in regional security, diplomacy, strategic, alignment. Mr. Chalani, just stay with me. I want to come back to you for one quick question. I just want to bring in Sushant Sareen in. Sushant Sareen, do you concur with Mr. Brahmachalani? It's a wake-up call also for India, which I guess has been ringing for a while.
But Preeti, while there are some points I agree with what Brahma is saying, but I don't know, did we go into a relationship with America with closed eyes? I mean, why do we whine all the time? We are not married to the United States. We have a partnership with the United States to the extent it serves both our interests. When the Americans wanted us to break away from Russia, did we? Did we give up our relationship with Russia? Now the Americans need the Pakistanis. Of course, they will go and, it's like Friends with Benefits, the title of a book, a very good book on India-US relations. So I don't think we should be expecting the world out of the Americans. Secondly, on Trump, look at the way he's treated some of their closest allies and friends, whether in Europe, in Canada, any of the other countries. So that's the kind of beast he is. That's the kind of beast we are to deal with. So I don't think we should have any starry-eyed notions about it. Third, look, when we want to do what we want to do, we always have to proceed on the assumption that we are going to do it because we are on our own. I don't think anybody, or we should not get into a situation where we think somebody is going to come and bail us out. Nobody is going to come and bail us out, nor are we expecting anybody to come and bail us out. So I think we need to be very clear about these things. But this particular meeting which has happened is kind of, I would imagine that there would be implications for India. And I'll tell you why. See, the ask from Trump could be simply personal, mining rights, etc., etc. But the fact that he's calling somebody like Munir, giving him a lunch, this apple polishing is going on, that means they're asking for something lot more. Now, for whatever they are asking the Pakistanis, what is the Pakistani ask going to be? I would imagine the Pakistani ask is going to be on India. It could be on Indus Waters Treaty. It could be on getting India and Pakistan to talk. It could be some of those stuff. And I think the statement which has been issued by the Prime Minister today seems to preempt it. One, he dodged the bullet. When Trump invites him over, he dodged it, right? That was well done. Secondly, I think he has made it very clear that we have never accepted any kind of mediation on Kashmir or any other bilateral issue from any third party. So I think he has also set down his red lines.
Okay.
Does this mean Trump will not try to push us under the bus? I won't hazard a guess on that. It is possible. But then, look, if we are a sovereign country, if we have this concept about ourselves that we are a strong country, then we'll stand up to Trump. We'll stand up to whoever there is.
That's
our own benefit.
All right.
Why
So
we are whining?
Okay, fair point. But that's the question, because I think domestically, that is the question that has been brought up. Just a little bit more patience for our political panelists. I just want to bring in Mr. Brahmachalani, and then we're going to let him go. But Mr. Brahmachalani, that's the question that has been brought up, that did we stand up too late? We speak of drawing a very hard line in the sand. The red line is what we are calling it, which the Prime Minister did in this telephone exchange with President Trump. But did it happen too late?
Prime Minister Modi has made considerable political investment in building strong ties with the US. That has been the defining feature of Modi's foreign policy. So in that context, the optics are quite problematic. Look at what Trump sought to do. In order to balance his invitation to General Munir, he tried to invite Prime Minister Modi to Washington and play the role of a mediator in Washington between India and Pakistan. It was a trap. Fortunately, Modi's schedule was such that he had to go to Croatia, but it was a trap that he laid. But the optics are what we cannot ignore. The Pakistan Army, as everybody knows, is not merely a stakeholder in Pakistan's national security. It's a de facto ruler of the country. And by engaging directly with General Munir, Trump is legitimizing the military's central role in Pakistani politics and also giving it a role in regional security. That's the troubling message that we cannot ignore.
All right, Mr. Chelani, appreciate you joining us. Sushant Sareen, will you hold? Okay, I know you want to come in. Would you hold on to that thought? I'll just open it up politically and we'll come right back to it. Okay, make your point. Yeah, make your 10 seconds. Yeah, come in.
Look, I don't disagree again with what Brahma is saying. But is this something new? The Americans have always dealt with military dictators in Pakistan. What's new about that? They've always liked a one-stop shop. And
Okay.
there is a messy democracy. You know, people will have to negotiate whatever deals we have to sign with the Americans. In Pakistan, the generals will wave their Malacca stick.
Okay.
And that is, I
All
think
right.
the
So
Americans...
if Mr. Chelani, if you want to answer that question, because, all right, okay, we don't have Mr. Chelani anymore. I think he's exited this debate. He had to go somewhere. But, let me open it up. And that's Sanju Verma. Let me pick up from what Mr. Brahma Chelani was saying. That's problematic in nature. The optics of all of this completely wrong. Once again, it's not happened in the first time. Yes, we dodged that bullet by not accepting the invite, the Prime Minister on his way back to stopover in America, because that was yet another attempt to hyphenate India with Pakistan, and that to be at a level with General Munir.
Preeti, while Mr. Brahma Chelani may not be there, I think your audience needs to listen to a couple of facts. Mr. Chelani said that, during the Biden dispensation, Pakistan was empowered. Pakistan got off the FATF, and he mentioned a couple of other things as well. What Mr. Chelani conveniently forgot to mention, and which your audience needs to listen to, is this. We signed the LEMOA, Logistics Exchange Memorandum Agreement, with the US in August 2016. We signed the COMCASA, Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement, with the United States in September 2018. We signed the BECA, Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement for Geospatial Cooperation, with the United States in October 2020. We rejuvenated the Quad, which was basically lying decadent despite being formed in 2007. We joined the MTCR, Missile Technology Control Regime, in 2016. And we have the US supporting us. Don't forget, in September 2018, for the first time, the 2+2 ministerial meeting with the US of A was held in New Delhi. The second edition of that meeting was held in Washington, D.C. in 2019. My limited point is this. During the Biden dispensation, Indo-US relations were pretty strong. And as far as Trump is concerned, the fact of the matter is this. He may have invited Asim Munir to the White House, but to hyphenate India and Pakistan, I mean, you have to, have completely lost your marbles to be doing that. And I don't think even Trump is attempting to do it, because, like I say, good economics and good diplomacy go hand in hand. Today, India's GDP is more than 13 times higher than that of Pakistan's. Our forex reserves are 68 times higher than Pakistan's. And our exports are 33 times higher than Pakistan. So,
right. 2 minutes will go to the political, and I'll say it there because the political panelists have a 2-minute timer each. Understandably, it gets a little messy nowadays, so we've just tried to separate that. And I want to bring in Mr. Yashki. It's interesting, sir, because you can raise all these questions, especially at the back of the conversation that President Trump had with our Prime Minister, where you said this was delayed response, disclosure of sensitive information. One doesn't know what that indication is, comparison, which, of course, hyphenating India with Pakistan. All of that. There was a bit of a faux pas, one would say, because you had Congress General Secretary quoting an old readout in the current context, which was a tad bit embarrassing. But in the larger picture, Madhu Gaudyashki, what is the issue that the Congress really has right now? You've been asking for a parliament session, a special parliament session. That has been denied, but 21st July, you have the monsoon session to put forth your issues.
Preeti, more than the Congress raising this issue, it's the people of India's interest, what Congress is raising, not our party's interest here. Let me quickly tell you, Preeti. I was a 10 years member of parliament. I was standing committee member for external affairs. During the civil nuclear deal issue, Manmohan Singh's government successfully alienated US President when they visit India, and we stopped George W. Bush and Obama visiting Pakistan. Otherwise, earlier, every US president used to visit after visiting India. Secondly, the track to diplomacy, which during UPA time, we successfully engaged Indian Americans to influence US senators and congressmen to stop the financial aid to Pakistan, with indirectly using that aid to sleeper cells operating those terror groups around Kashmir. That is the success story of UPA government and Manmohan Singh's diplomacy. Here, utter failure, in spite of Narendra Modi ji has a great interest of, he was denied 10 years visa after Godhra issue, 10 years. He was keen to develop a closer relation with the US, and it shows its utter failure. What is stopped Honorable Prime Minister to deny when President Trump, Vice President, Ribeiro, Secretary of State, and they even filed in New York court that trade was used to negotiate between India and Pakistan to stop the war? What has stopped the Prime Minister of India to say that there's no involvement of Trump, neither the US government, negotiating between India and Pakistan? It was our own issue. I had traveled with Brahma Chelani to Germany when Yashwant Sinha, as a BJP leader, was also with us. When we go abroad, we speak one voice that we represent India, not any political parties. Here, I could clearly say Modi's diplomacy, foreign policy is utter failure. It's a slap on us. And when Trump is...
Sir, your fader has gone down. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to the both of you for 2 minutes each. I want to bring in Sandeep Punithan, who's also been following foreign policy for a while. Sandeep, the charge is that maybe we've been diplomatically manipulated, or it has been the multi-aligned policy of India that hasn't quite worked. We find ourselves, in a position of hostility where possibly every neighbor is hostile to us. The question, Sandeep, would also come that when we define a new normal now dealing with Pakistan post-Operation Sindoor, are we also looking at a new normal where diplomacy with America is concerned?
Well, Preeti, that certainly appears to be the case. The statement by the Foreign Secretary was quite strongly worded, I should say. I think it's possibly the first
strongest
time
that has come. Yeah.
Yes, it is the first time in recent years that we've seen this kind of statement coming out of the MEA. And I think, the government of India has decided that enough is enough. And the kind of, the propaganda, I don't know what other word to use for it, but the kind of propaganda that was coming out of the White House with Donald Trump continuing to insist that he was playing peacemaker between India and Pakistan, and repeating that assertion, where the MEA has called it out as something like, he was not being very, truthful with facts. And Trump has never allowed truth to come in the way of an interesting story, Preeti, that must be told. But, you look at it from Trump's perspective, Preeti. He's the guy who said that, look, the minute I take over, wars are going to stop within 24 hours and 48 hours. It's been 6 months and nobody is listening to President Trump. Not even Benjamin Netanyahu, which is one of his closest allies. Everybody is doing exactly what they want, whether it's Putin or it's Zelensky or Benjamin Netanyahu. And now I think Prime Minister Modi has also said the same thing in not as many words, but very politely and sternly said that we will, do exactly what is in our national interests. And that was the unsaid part of today's statement. Very strongly worded statement, especially, when you look at the kind of bonhomie that Prime Minister Modi and President Trump have enjoyed in the past. The Howdy Modi and Namaste, Prime Minister, all of that. In the light of this statement is very, very, strongly worded.
So, Shansarin, would you want to weigh in on it? Many would suggest it's come a tad bit late, should have come in earlier. But do you also see now this is possibly the new normal in diplomacy with America?
Yes, and I think this is not just limited to Donald Trump. I think this is going to be the new normal, regardless of whether Trump is the president or somebody else becomes president in the US. Look, Preeti, when the ceasefire happened between India and Pakistan, even at that point of time, there were many people who within the government also who thought that, this business of Trump to try and take credit needs to be shot down immediately. Because if you don't do it, he will keep parroting the same line over and over again. I think it was a political decision at that point of time that let's not make a big issue on this because we have bigger fish to fry with the Americans. Now, clearly, matters reached a point where it was felt that if we now don't give him a shut-up call, because which is what, Sandeep is right, that we said this very politely and firmly, but it was a shut up call. It's not that it's going to shut Donald Trump up. Nothing shuts him up ever. Right. But the point is that this is what Mr. Yakshi was talking about. Yes, I personally am of the view that it should have been said right at the outset. But having said this today, we've said exactly what Mr. Yakshi has been asking of the government. That is exactly what has been said by quoting the Prime Minister and his conversation with Donald Trump today. So I think that we've set the record straight. Now let us see how the Americans are going to try and push back. Second, Preeti, let's also not get carried away with this thing that, our relations with all our neighbors are bad. Historically, our relations with our neighbors have always been testy. I can tell you, for example, in the late 80s, when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, we had terrible relations with Sri Lanka. We had terrible relations with Nepal. There was a blockade of Nepal during Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's time. With Bangladesh, we've always had terrible relations. The best 15 years was when Sheikh Hasina became Prime Minister. So, we can, if we want to see history only in the context of what happened 2 weeks back, then yes, it's one thing. But if you look at the longer span of history of the subcontinent over the last 70, 80 years, our relations with our neighbors, there have been ups and downs. We've had bad relations with Nepal even during Pandit Nehru's time. So, when we say that our relations with all our neighbors have gone bad, I think we should be careful rather than making such sweeping statements.
All right, let's broaden that question then. Is it not just our neighbors, but is it also our allies there? And therefore, Sanju Verma, are we standing at the precipice of maybe recalibrating or what has been our foreign policy in terms of shifting US priorities? We've seen how shifty President Trump has been. We've seen the China-Pakistan axis. It's right in the open. Possibly China. We fought a proxy war with China, not Pakistan. The whole multi-alignment. I still remember we had the Prime Minister who said we are no longer non-aligned but multi-aligned. Has that really worked where our own allies like Russia did not stand with us when we really needed them to? So is there at least an understanding and a reflection of recalibration?
Preeti, let me make one thing very clear. Foreign policy is one of the biggest, and the strongest standout points of the last 11 years of the Modi government, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, let's get one thing very, very clear. For the last 2 years running, we've been running a trade surplus with the United States of America anywhere between $35 to $45 billion. Our bilateral trade is between $135 to $145 billion. We've had 2 highly successful FTAs, one with Australia, which we signed 18 months back, and one which we signed with the United Kingdom barely 3 months back. And signing an FTA with the United Kingdom is great news because it gives us greater access to important markets, right from leather goods, garments, textiles, and apparels to what have you, to mangoes and grapes. The third and very important point, the gross FDI inflows last year stood at $81 billion. That does not happen, if you are a country that has been isolated. We overtook the United Kingdom in 2022 to become the world's 5th largest economy, and Japan a few weeks back to become the 4th largest economy. That does not happen if you have a foreign policy which is dodgy. We have an annual exports of $821 billion. That does not happen if you have a foreign policy which is dodgy. And let me tell you, when Trump said Modi is an excellent negotiator, the likes of Jairam Ramesh and Khera said, oh, we don't take Trump seriously. When Trump said, I had asked Prime Minister Modi if he wants me to intervene, he said, no, he will settle the Pakistan-Kashmir issue on his own. Jairam Ramesh said, oh, let's not take Trump seriously. Today, suddenly, ये सारे के सारे from Khera to Supriya Shriye to Jairam Ramesh, Donald Trump के चरण चुंबक बन गए हैं. But I would also like to say, Sushant Sareen gave a very nuanced view. Brahma Chalani always sees as the glass half full. The truth is somewhere in between. It's neither the glass half.
Ms. Verma, it all depends what side of the political divide, especially as a spokesperson, you stand to see the half glass full or half empty. And that is very, very subjective, ma'am. I want to bring in Madhu God Yashki back into this conversation. Mr. Yashki, the fact is, let me flip that question that I asked Sanju Verma. One might stress on, that we failed, our foreign policies failed, but this is a new world. world order on how we knew it has been upended, and we see it very differently now. And India needs to change because everyone is changing. There is realignment. So it's not an India problem, it's a world issue.
Mhm. Let me tell you quickly, the foreign policy of India is a continuing process, Preeti. It doesn't matter whether BJP or Congress in power. We always maintained a uniformity. When Vajpayee was there, or P. V. Narasimha Rao is there, Rajiv ji is trying to, Manmohan Singh is trying to. It's only during Prime Minister Modi it changed. It's more of a self-publicity propaganda than the country's interest. What my friend is listing about trade facts and defense facts, those are nothing. These are India's consumer market. It is skilled labor which is attracting the US to other Australia to UK to come and sign pact with us. It's not any it doesn't matter which political party in power, Preeti. It is India. It is India's consumer market is driving. It is economy which is ruling more than the military power now. We failed here. Mr. Modi has failed to draw the attention of America to alienate from Pakistan. It's a slap. It's not Prime Minister of Pakistan invited. It is Army Chief of Pakistan invited for lunch. That's an utter failure. Why Prime Minister Modi has not intervened at the time? I had an opportunity to travel with Shant on a US Ronald Reagan airport carrier. So US is always trying to reach out the Indian diplomats or foreign Indian Americans across in US and here. So what I'm trying to say, a big point here, the differences maybe with the neighborings, which is evidently shown, Mr. Modi has claimed to be, is different than the UPA government. So what we're trying to say, what he claimed and what is proven is completely disaster. So there may be differences earlier, there may be bad relations with the neighboring countries, but Modi is shown to be a different. Modi, ab ki baar Modi governance kahan chale gaya? Why the foreign minister to rest of the people have kept quiet? Simple.
Okay. Well, that's... Sir, your fade has gone down. I apologize. I have no control over this. I appreciate all four of you for joining us. Thank you there. I would reckon this is going to be an ongoing conversation, especially where Indian domestic politics is concerned. The monsoon session is around the corner. The stage quite set for that, isn't it? India has been reeling from its deadliest aviation disaster as the hunt for what caused the ill-fated Air India flight to crash into a medical hostel, killing 270 people on board. With data from the plane's black box being recovered, the focus has now shifted to the recent overhaul of the right engine. India Today tracks the probe.
It has been almost a week since the fatal crash of Air India in Ahmedabad that has left over 270 dead, but India and the world still awaits the answers. As investigators dig into the data of the black box, sources have now told India Today that the focus has shifted to the right engine of the plane that was recently overhauled. India Today has learned that the right side engine was overhauled and reinstalled as recently as March 2025, just 3 months before the crash. The nearly 12-year-old Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner had also passed a comprehensive maintenance check in June 2023. Its next major inspection was scheduled for December this year. Sources also confirmed that in April, Air India raised the insurance cover for the aircraft from 750 crore rupees to 850 crore rupees. Complying with the DGCA order, Air India has so far completed comprehensive security checks of 9 of its 33 Dreamliners, with the rest to follow. Meanwhile, former Aviation Minister Praful Patel raised questions on the silence of the Singapore Airlines, highlighting that the Singapore airline was responsible for maintaining most of Air India wide-body aircraft. Patel added that current Air India CEO Campbell Wilson is a nominee of Singapore Airlines. Emotional scenes played out as the sole survivor, Vishwas Kumar, paid last tribute to his brother who died in the crash. How long before India finds out the real cause of the deadly crash? Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
I want to cut across to my colleague from Business Today, Chetan Bhutani, who's joining us live with the latest update on the probe. Chetan, the sheer fact that there was an overhaul of the right engine of AI 171, that could really have implications on the probe that is being conducted. What's the latest?
Well, that's right. What we've been given to understand is the fact that the right side of the engine was in fact maintained and overhauled in as far as March 2025, and the entire aircraft was in fact had gone through a significant amount of checks and balances in 2023 June. This is what our sources have been telling me. So the possibility of the right side engine failing could have been really less. But yes, we'll have to wait and watch what really happened to the ill-fated aircraft. Remember, Air India had raised the insurance cover of that ill-fated aircraft from rupees 750 crores to about 850 crore rupees. So clearly, as the authorities and the governments are investigating, we have to wait and watch as to what the voice recorder and the black box really have to reveal about what really happened.
All right. Chetan, thank you for joining us with that quick update. But where the state of Gujarat is concerned, viewers, it's been a terrible, tragic week. We've had the air crash in Ahmedabad, which has taken 270 lives, and now torrential rain and floods have claimed 30 lives. Rain continues to batter several parts of Gujarat, causing rivers to overflow and internal roads to flood, taking the toll in the rain-related incidents to 30 for the third consecutive day. Monsoon fury crippled normal life in Saurashtra, Rajkot, Amreli, Morbi and Surendranagar, submerging numerous homes, forcing residents to evacuate and seek temporary shelter. Alarming visuals showing residents being swept away by strong currents. In response, authorities have launched urgent evacuation efforts, focusing on saving lives, safeguarding property and ensuring continue to essential supplies. Till now, the death count is closing in to 30 where Gujarat floods are concerned. I want to quickly cut across to my colleague Brijesh Joshi, who's joining us with the latest coming in from Gujarat. Brijesh, what a terrible week it has been for the state of Gujarat. First, the horrific, tragic air crash in Ahmedabad, and now floods and rains causing havoc. Till now, 30 dead, flooding in Bhavnagar, completely submerged, Saurashtra districts completely submerged. What more can you get?
Definitely, this was the week that no one would like to remember for a long time, because it's a very deadliest week for the Gujarat as well, India. As far as we talk about the flood-like situation in the Saurashtra region of Gujarat, Bhavnagar, Amreli and Botad, these three districts got more than 9 inches of rain in less than 12 hours, due to which there were certain villages which were submerged with heavy waterfall, and that's why the people have been rescued. More than 300 people have been evacuated from the small villages, the low-lying areas of the villages as well. In only 24 hours, 18 deaths were there, and now the dot trail has crossed to the 30, reached to the 30. So this is showing the situation of how the rain mayhem in just 48 hours has disturbed the life of the normal life of the people in the Gujarat, especially in the Saurashtra region. Today as well, there was red alert for Jamnagar, Dwarka and Porbandar, but luckily there was no heavy rain in these parts of Gujarat. Now tomorrow there will be there will be possibility of the rain, but not so much heavy rain predicted by the IMD. So it will be a light relief for the people of Saurashtra, that after 24 hours there will be a lesser rain. The rainfall will decrease than the earlier 24 hours. So we can hope that the next 24 hours will be a bit better for the people who live in Saurashtra region.
All right, but Bhavnagar, Amreli continue to be in the eye of a literal storm where rain havoc is concerned. I appreciate you joining us, Brijesh, with the latest views. What a tragic week for the state of Gujarat. First, the horrific air crash, and now over 22 people dead in floods. Torrential rainfall tomorrow, what we've been expecting. So Saurashtra region will have a spot of relief, at least with what the weather department predicts. But Jamnagar, Amreli and Bhavnagar are going to continue to face a lot of rain, and already there has been a fair amount of flooding where maximum fatalities and casualties have come in from these very areas.